My wife won $5 million and kicked me out the next day. But the prenup her rich parents made me sign turned out to be her biggest mistake. I, 33 am, never thought I'd be writing this, but here I am, sitting in a cramped motel room at 2 a.m., trying to make sense of how my life imploded in just 72 hours. It started last Friday when my wife hit the jackpot on a scratch-off ticket she bought during her lunch break. $5 million. I still remember her bursting through the door, shaking and crying. I thought something terrible had happened. In a way, something did, I just didn't know it yet. We celebrated that night, ordered expensive takeout, drank the fancy wine we'd been saving for our 5th anniversary, and stayed up late planning our future. New house, investments, maybe starting that business she always dreamed about. She seemed distracted, checking her phone more than usual, but I chalked it up to excitement. Sunday morning, she was gone before I woke up. Said she needed to clear her head and figure things out. By Monday afternoon, I was served with divorce papers at my office. My coworkers watched as I stood there, frozen, staring at the envelope like it was a bomb about to go off. When I got home that evening, the locks were changed. A note on the door directed me to a nearby motel where she'd paid for a week's stay. Just like that, I was homeless. 15 years together, thrown away for lottery winnings. But here's where it gets interesting. Back when we first got engaged, her wealthy parents insisted on a prenup. They never approved of me, thought I was a gold digger because I came from a middle-class family and worked as a high school teacher while their daughter was a successful corporate lawyer. The prenup was non-negotiable. Either I signed it, or there would be no wedding. The thing is, they were so focused on protecting their money and family assets that they made the prenup bulletproof in both directions. Any windfalls, inheritances, or significant financial gains during the marriage would be split 50-50, regardless of whose name was on the ticket or account. They were convinced their daughter would be the one coming into money, not me. I pulled out my copy of the prenup from our fireproof safe before leaving. Hadn't looked at it in years. My hands were shaking as I read through it again, but there it was in black and white. Section 7.3. Any lottery winnings, inheritance, or similar financial gains acquired during the marriage shall be considered joint marital property and subject to equal distribution in the event of dissolution of marriage. Looking at those words now, I remember the day I signed that prenup. It was 3 weeks before our wedding, in her parents' study. Their lawyer explained every clause while her father watched me like a hawk, probably hoping I'd refuse to sign. But I did sign, because I loved her. I would have signed anything. The irony isn't lost on me now. You see, we met in college. I was working part-time as a tutor to pay my way through school, and she was this brilliant pre-law student who needed help with her statistics course. She was different back then, warm, genuine, ambitious, but not ruthless. We dated for 4 years before getting married, through her law school and my teaching certification. The first few years of marriage were tough. She was working insane hours as a junior associate while I was starting my teaching career. We lived in a tiny apartment, ate cheap takeout, and barely saw each other. But we were happy, or at least I thought we were. We had plans, dreams, inside jokes. We were a team. Things changed when she made partner 2 years ago. Suddenly, there were more late nights, more business trips, more networking events where I felt like an outsider. Her colleagues would give me these looks, like they couldn't understand what someone like her was doing with someone like me. Maybe they were right. Last month, she suggested I look for a job at a private school, saying I was wasting my potential at the public high school where I teach. I love my students, love making a difference in their lives. But she couldn't understand that. To her, success meant money, status, power. I should have seen the signs then. The past 72 hours have been a nightmare of revelations. While going through our joint accounts, which she emptied the day after winning, by the way, I found some interesting transactions. Regular charges at high-end hotels downtown, during her supposed late nights at the office. Expensive restaurant bills for 2 on evenings when I was at parent-teacher conferences. A receipt for a weekend spa retreat from 3 months ago when she said she was at a legal conference in Chicago. I've spent the last few hours reviewing our text messages, emails, photos from the past year. The changes were subtle but clear. Fewer messages, shorter responses, always too busy for date nights or weekend trips. The last photo we took together was at her firm's Christmas party 6 months ago. She's not even looking at the camera, she's checking her phone. The divorce papers cite irreconcilable differences and claim we've been living separate lives for months. There's a whole section about how she's entitled to keep her independently acquired assets, meaning the lottery winnings. Her lawyer must not have known about the prenup when they drafted these papers. That, or she didn't tell them. I called my sister earlier tonight. She wasn't surprised. Said she'd noticed how distant my wife had become at family gatherings, how she always seemed to be looking over everyone's shoulders like she was searching for something, or someone better. My sister never liked her, always said she had social climber written all over her. I defended my wife back then. Funny how blind love can make you. Tomorrow, I'm meeting with 3 more divorce attorneys. The first one I spoke with today nearly laughed when he read the prenup. Said it was one of the most straightforward cases he'd seen in years. But I need to be thorough, need to make sure there are no loopholes she can exploit. Her parents haven't reached out. They're probably already planning their counterattack, trying to find ways to invalidate the very prenup they forced on me. The irony would be amusing if it wasn't so painful. I keep thinking about all the little moments, all the signs I missed. The password changes on our shared accounts. The new gym membership she never used. The mysterious work calls that required complete privacy. Was I really that naive, or did I just not want to see what was right in front of me? The motel bed is uncomfortable, and the air conditioning makes this weird rattling sound every few minutes. But it's not the discomfort keeping me awake. It's the realization that the person I trusted most in this world was planning her exit strategy while sharing my bed, eating meals I cooked, accepting the love I gave so freely. Money doesn't just change people, it reveals who they truly are. And tomorrow, when her lawyer realizes what that prenup really means, I'll find out exactly who my wife has become. The scary part? I'm not even sure I want to know anymore. Update. It's been a week since my last post, and things have escalated in ways I never imagined. The supportive comments and messages from this community have been keeping me sane through what's turned into a legal circus. The meeting with my divorce attorney went exactly as expected, until it didn't. He confirmed the prenup was ironclad, but then dropped a bomb that even he didn't see coming. Turns out my wife didn't just win $5 million. The actual amount was $7.8 million, and she'd already transferred a significant portion to offshore accounts before serving me with divorce papers. My lawyer immediately filed for an emergency injunction to freeze all accounts. The judge granted it within hours, probably because my wife's hasty transfers looked suspiciously like attempted fraud. Her legal team was caught completely off guard. Apparently, she hadn't told them about these transfers either. But here's where it gets really interesting. During the emergency hearing, evidence came out that she'd been planning this for months. The lottery win wasn't the catalyst, it was just the final piece she needed. Her phone records showed regular calls to a divorce attorney dating back 6 months. She'd been systematically documenting every minor argument, every late night at work, building a case for emotional abandonment, while simultaneously moving small amounts of money into separate accounts. The real kicker? She'd been having an affair with one of her firm's major clients for the past 8 months. I found out not through investigation, but because the guy's wife showed up at my motel room 2 days ago. Turns out my wife wasn't the only one planning an exit strategy. This guy, some hotshot tech entrepreneur, had been promising both women they'd start a new life together once he closed a big deal. The other wife was a godsend, honestly. She had dates, photos, text messages, even hotel receipts. She'd hired a private investigator months ago and had been building a case for her own divorce. She came to me because she thought I deserved to know the truth, but also because she needed an ally. The prenup that was supposed to protect my wife's family wealth? It also means this guy can't get his hands on half of our lottery winnings in their planned future together. Yesterday, my wife's parents finally reached out, not to me, but to my lawyer. They're furious, but not at me. Apparently, they had no idea about the affair or the offshore accounts. Their precious daughter's actions have put their own family's reputation at risk. The scandal could affect their business relationships, especially since their firm handles legal work for several conservative corporate clients. My wife tried to negotiate. First, she offered me 30% of the winnings to walk away quietly. When that didn't work, she went up to 40%. Her latest offer came with a thinly veiled threat about making things difficult for me at work. She seems to have forgotten that as a public school teacher, I have union protection. Plus, my principal has been incredibly supportive since I explained the situation. The school community has rallied around me in ways I never expected. Parents from my homeroom organized a meal train. My students made me a hang in their card, though I suspect they were more amused than sympathetic about the whole lottery situation. One of the parents, a real estate agent, even helped me find an affordable apartment I can move into next week. My wife's behavior has become increasingly erratic. She showed up at my motel yesterday, demanding to talk. When I refused to let her in, she started crying, saying she still loved me but needed to find herself and live her best life. The security camera footage of her performance is now part of our court record, thanks to my lawyer's advice to document everything. Her affair partner's wife and I have been sharing information through our lawyers. We learned that he's been siphoning money from his company, preparing for his own escape plan. His wife has already reported him to the SEC. My wife's firm is in panic mode, trying to distance themselves from the whole mess. There's talk of asking her to take a leave of absence until everything's resolved. The prenup she forgot about? Her parents' lawyer finally dug up their copy. Turns out there's another clause we'd all overlooked. Any attempt to hide or transfer assets before or during divorce proceedings results in the other party being entitled to punitive damages. Her offshore transfers might end up costing her a lot more than just half the lottery winnings. My lawyer thinks we can wrap this up in a matter of weeks instead of months. The evidence is overwhelming, and her position gets weaker every day as more details come to light. Her own parents are pressuring her to settle, trying to minimize the damage to their family name. I'm not out for revenge. I don't even want more than my fair share. But watching her carefully constructed house of cards collapse has been educational. The woman I married, the one I thought I knew for 15 years, never really existed. She was always just waiting for a better offer. The other wife and I met for coffee yesterday. We're not looking for sympathy or revenge. We just understand what the other is going through. She showed me text messages where my wife and her husband were planning trips to the Maldives, talking about houses they'd buy, the life they'd have together. All while I was grading papers at our kitchen table and cooking dinner, waiting for my wife to come home from her late meetings. The most surreal part? Last night, my wife's younger sister called me. She was crying, apologizing for her family's treatment of me all these years. Said she'd always looked up to her sister, but now she's disgusted by her behavior. Asked if we could stay in touch after the divorce. It was the first genuine conversation I've had with any of them in 15 years. Tomorrow, we have another court hearing. My lawyer says it's mostly procedural, but important. The judge needs to review the evidence of asset concealment and rule on the punitive damages clause in the prenup. I should be nervous, but honestly, I just feel tired. Tired of the lies, the manipulations, the constant drama. I've started looking at houses in a quiet neighborhood near my school. Nothing fancy, just a small place with a yard where I can plant a garden. Maybe get a dog. My students keep suggesting names for my future pet, most of them Pokemon-related. It's nice to have something to look forward to plan for a future that's entirely my own. The irony isn't lost on me that my wife's lottery win, which she thought would be her ticket to a new life, might end up giving me the fresh start instead. Sometimes karma works in mysterious ways. Final update. It's been 3 months since my last post, and I finally have the closure to share how everything played out. Grab your popcorn. The ending is even more dramatic than the beginning. Remember that court hearing I mentioned? It changed everything. Not because of anything my lawyer presented, but because of what my wife did. She showed up clearly intoxicated, got into an argument with her own attorney in the hallway, which someone helpfully recorded, and then tried to approach the judge directly to explain her side. The judge was not amused. But the real bombshell came from her affair partner's wife. She discovered that the offshore accounts my wife had been using weren't just for the lottery money. There were regular deposits going back almost 2 years, kickbacks from her affair partner's company in exchange for preferential legal treatment. When this evidence was presented, my wife's law firm partners, who were there to support her, literally got up and walked out of the courtroom. The next 48 hours were chaos. My wife's firm launched an internal investigation. The SEC expanded their investigation of her affair partner to include her. Her parents' firm started damage control. And somewhere in all this, her affair partner apparently fled the country, leaving both women behind. My wife finally broke. She showed up at my new apartment at 3 a.m., completely disheveled. Through tears, she confessed everything. The affair had started as a simple flirtation at a firm event, but quickly evolved into something more. He had promised to leave his wife, to start a new company with her as chief legal officer. The lottery win was supposed to be their chance to break free. She'd even bought the ticket at the store near his office, not during her lunch break like she'd told me. I recorded the whole conversation on my phone, as my lawyer had advised. Not for court. We already had enough evidence. But for myself. I needed to hear her say it. Needed to understand how 15 years of marriage could mean so little to her. The settlement came quickly after that. With her career imploding and criminal charges possible, she agreed to everything. I got exactly half of the lottery winnings, after taxes, plus additional compensation for the attempted fraud. But the money doesn't matter much anymore. What matters is that I'm free. Her life has fallen apart spectacularly. Her firm asked for her resignation. The State Bar Association launched an ethics investigation. Her parents, trying to salvage their reputation, publicly denounced her actions and announced her removal from any involvement in their family business. Last I heard, she's living in a condo her parents owned, under strict conditions about her behavior and spending. The other wife and I have become good friends. She's using her settlement to start a consulting business, helping other people detect and prevent financial fraud. She's even offered me a part-time position handling their educational programs, though I'm happy staying at my school. My students' reaction to the whole saga has been priceless. They think I should write a book. I did buy that house I mentioned, the one with the yard. And yes, I got a dog. A 3-legged rescue pit bull named Chance. My students were disappointed I didn't go with Charizard. He's currently snoring on the couch, next to me, as I write this. The garden is coming along nicely too. Turns out there's something therapeutic about growing your own food. The lottery money is mostly invested now. I set up college funds for my nieces and nephews, donated to the school's arts program, and started a small foundation to help teachers pursue advanced degrees. The rest is managed by a financial advisor who seems equally amused and impressed by how I came into it. My wife's younger sister still comes over for dinner sometimes. She's getting married next year and asked me to help her draft her own prenup. I recommended a good lawyer, but told her the most important thing is to marry someone you trust completely, and to trust your instincts when something feels wrong. Yesterday, I ran into my wife's mother at the grocery store. It was awkward at first, but then she did something that shocked me. She apologized. Not just for her daughter's behavior, but for how they'd treated me all those years. Said they'd been so focused on protecting their daughter from gold diggers that they never realized she was the one who'd put a price tag on love. The divorce is final now. My lawyer framed a copy of the prenup and gave it to me as a graduation present when we closed the case. It sits in my home office, next to my teaching awards and a new family photo. Just me and Chance, both of us grinning at the camera. Looking back, the signs were always there. The constant need for more money, more status, more everything. I just didn't want to see them because I was holding on to who I thought she was, not who she'd become. Or maybe who she'd always been. This whole experience has taught me something important about both money and love. Money doesn't change people, it reveals them. And love, real love, isn't about what you can get from someone, but what you're willing to give without expecting anything in return. I got an email from her last week. She's in therapy now, said she's working on herself. Asked if we could meet for coffee someday, for closure. I politely declined. Some chapters are better left closed. To everyone who supported me through this journey, thank you. Your comments and messages helped me more than you know. Special thanks to the Reddit community here who offered legal advice, shared similar stories, and kept me laughing when I needed it most. Life is different now, but better. I'm teaching summer school, by choice, planning a camping trip with my sister's family, and learning to cook properly instead of surviving on takeout. Chance has his own Instagram account, My Student's Idea, where he showcases his gardening, help, and tennis ball obsession. They say living well is the best revenge, but I'm not interested in revenge anymore. I'm interested in peace. In quiet mornings with coffee and crosswords. In weekend hikes with Chance. In helping my students discover their potential. In building a life that's rich in all the ways money can't buy. Someone asked me recently if I regret signing that prenup all those years ago. I don't. Not just because it protected me in the end, but because it taught me that sometimes the things we think will hurt us the most end up being our salvation. As for the lottery ticket that started it all, I had it framed, not as a reminder of what I gained, but of what I lost and what I learned. Sometimes winning feels a lot like losing at first, but then you realize that what you really won was your freedom, your self-respect, and a chance to start over. That's worth more than any lottery jackpot.